Hello, everybody. Welcome to the whole story. We are here recapping the Qatar Grand Prix, which I thought was a fantastic weekend. Left us with plenty of discuss. We have a new three-time world champion. We have the Mercedes flashing back to 2016, crashing into each other. I will come off as a big McLaren and Oscar Piastri hater after this show today, but I am not. But I know it's going to come off like that. I'm a fan, but I'm ready to talk, and I think me and Alex are going to have some good debates today. Man, what'd you think of the weekend overall?
I know you were high on it. I thought it was okay at that. Just to reiterate my main point here, my biggest qualm with the weekend is Oscar wins the sprint race, and he pretty much doesn't really get to celebrate it because Max wins the world championship, and it just overshadows his first career. Obviously, it's not a Grand Prix win, but his first win.
Yeah. So Max should have done what you said and just stayed home.
I think no, just
I mean,
like
he
what
still
like
would have won the
to get
championship
let
anyways.
yeah, he would have won the championship regardless. But I just feel like win the big one Sunday. I guess I'm not a fan of the Saturday championship. I think he's the first, ironically, to do it since Nelson Piquet.
Yes, his potential
So
future
on a
father-in-law.
Saturday,
Yeah.
on a Saturday, yeah.
Well, man, there's a lot to discuss. I news before we get into it throughout the week. I thought the news was pretty quiet. I think only two things that I really got was that Mercedes. You sent this to me, Alex. Mercedes is supposed to have a pretty juiced up engine next year. Their zero pod concept limited their space, which actually kind of makes a lot of sense. So Mercedes might have with more room now, a better engine, and then there were some rumors that Audi was trying to pull out of their deal, and then they confirmed that they are not pulling out. So that was just some bad rumors that were started this week. But we got into our sprint weekend here. I want to start off. I'm not a fan of the sprint weekend for a few reasons, but like when our graphic designer is texting me and he's trying to understand like what is going on and why Max won the race on a Saturday and what it's about, it's kind of hard to explain. And even my dad, who's into racing, like it takes him a second to like figure out what's going on. I don't
I
know.
get what I get the business side of the F1 argument there, where like or the FIA, where like they want as much racing as possible, and I get that. But again, like just any newcomers coming on, the format makes no sense. And this is a brand new format this year, right?
Yeah.
Or did it start last year?
Nope.
This
New
year, yeah,
format this year.
this year. Where like the sprint format, it sucks. It really does. Like before, like last year, previously, for those of you who haven't watched F1, when they did the sprint format, it was qualifying too. And like it was so where you finish in the sprint was where you would qualify essentially. And now they just change it to make it essentially a separate race entirely, where they do two separate qualifying sessions, which to me the qualifying has been the most exciting thing to me this year. And it just to me this qualifying session wasn't that exciting. It was
Do
just like
you,
you're going to sprint format, then you have the sprint format qualifying, and it just sucks.
what do you think about one qualifying session for both of them?
Um I think just get I guess I would use the sprint race as a qualifier in itself.
So back to
Like you
last
do
year's
qualifying
format.
on Friday. Yeah, I would go to last year's format. I think this year's format. And I honestly like and I hate to be that guy, but like I'm not a fan of giving away points for it either.
Okay.
I'm really not. I think the whole thing is just like just make it a qualifying session and make it a sprint qualifying session or whatever, and then just go on from there. Because I'm not a fan of this format at all. I think it really taints Oscar Piastri's first win, and it doesn't taint Max's championship. Max was going to be the champion regardless at the end of this weekend, but you don't get that full celebration aspect that he could have had he won it Sunday instead of Saturday because he has to go to work Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
You know,
Yeah, I'm with you. With you. Not a fan of it. I don't like that. It's hard to explain. I will say I will, and this is where I'm going to start to sound salty about McLaren and Oscar
mm-hmm.
today. I don't like all the hype about like how much of a win it is. Just because it's only
I
it's a
can agree
20
with you.
lap race, you know.
It's a 17. Was it 18 laps? I think.
I think it
I
was
think it's 18 laps in
18
total.
laps,
18 or
18 or
19, something like
19.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that. And then a half of those were under the safety car because everybody
yep.
just kept spinning out and getting into the gravel. Like Checo, I think Checo was put into the gravel. Who else was put into the gravel? Was it
Um,
Carlos?
Lawson beached it lap one, Sargent
Lawson.
beached it, and then Ocon, Perez, and Hulkenberg got into the 3-car crash.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
just like half of the race is under the safety car.
yeah. Well, I'm with.
And Max gets into P2 from I forget where he started originally. Like, did he start P2 and then he fell back, or I can't remember what happened.
No, he started P3 and fell back.
And he fell back. Okay, so Max gets into P2 with like I don't know, a 2.5 second gap left, and
Yep.
he almost closed it. And I think it was like 3 laps left, not even. And he
Yeah.
almost closed it. I think he got it down to like 1 point something, like 1.8 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I
I'm with
will.
you. You still have
Yeah.
to execute. Oscar still had to execute. He drove great. He did absolutely zero wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But like it was like you said, it was a 18, 19 lap race with only a handful of laps under green. It's not like this rookie, had to do a full length race, you know. And when you use the term win, like the reason why a win is so great in racing because it means so much. It's so hard. And like when we use it on this short format, I don't know. I feel awkward just hearing the word win. I don't know. That's just me.
It does suck, but again, and another thing, like you said, it's very difficult to explain to any newcomer to the show. It's like, why is he scoring points on a Saturday?
Yeah.
Or it's to F1. It just makes no sense. Like it, I don't know what they were thinking adding this format in because I can tell you the racers aren't a fan of the format.
Yeah.
Like they all voice their opinions. I don't think any people. I think the only people that might be a fan of the format are the owners of the teams. And that's about it because they
Yeah.
get to get more money out of it.
Yeah, because I feel like before, like you said, you could explain it to someone where there's like, all right, there's a qualifying session, and then they do this like race that decides
Little
the
race,
starting order. You know what I mean?
exactly.
But
To me, that makes more sense.
you say those words, the race, starting order. Boom, they're good without knowing racing. That makes sense to them. But then to be like, yeah, no, they qualify on Friday, and then there's a separate qualifying session, and then a short race where they only give out points to the top 8. It's different. Like it's just yeah, it becomes a lot to explain to a newcomer, which I feel like they want more racing for newcomers, but I feel like it takes a lot of effort to get. But whatever. We're just salty people, me and you, I guess.
I'm sorry, but even on this, I think most people, even people who aren't fans of like the people that we root for and stuff, like they would agree with it. Like the format just it's dumb. It's a money grab and it's just stupid.
Yeah. Definitely money grab. I agree with you. It makes it hard too for these guys too with one practice session. Like
That's another thing. Yeah,
you're
they
not
don't
even getting everyone's best foot forward.
imagine Liam Lawson gets thrown into this race or his first race
Yeah.
instead of where he started. Imagine that. Like this guy just got thrown into this race. He has to do a sprint format. He has to do 2 qualifying sessions, and then towards the end, just the race itself, and that got rule changed too. Which,
Yeah.
to be fair, I was a fan of the rule change. I thought it made it interesting.
What rule change?
The 18 laps on the tires for the race.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, of course I'm a fan, Alex. I've been screaming for more pit stops
I
this whole
I
year.
know, I know, and I was going to talk to you about it, but I was so busy. I didn't catch a race live yesterday. I ended up watching it afterwards, but I saw the 18 lap format, and I was like, that's actually really cool because
Yeah, no,
it gives because pretty much like yeah, we'll get to the racing part afterwards, but you get different strategies going into it, and everybody doesn't have to like go into these crazy compounds.
yeah, no, I'm with you, and we're gonna talk about that on my set as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll start off. Let's start off Friday. FP1. There are really no big notes besides that. Man, you can't forget that these tracks are in the middle of a desert when we go out here. So like, there's legit desert dust on these tracks. So again, only one practice session because of the sprint format, and they're dealing with a dusty, dirty track, and it was windy. So like, there's no hills, there's no nothing to hide the wind. It just comes right across, and so it was a practice where they didn't get much data. They were kind of getting thrown all over the track, but no one crashed, no big noise. Just some brake markers got broken. What do you think? Should we talk about the sprint shootout and then the sprint race and then qualifying, or should we stick with the? I feel weird talking about qualifying and then we talk about Saturday and then the race on Sunday. Like I don't know where we should start.
I feel for like simplistic standpoints, we just keep going the order we're going in that we always go in, just go qualifying, and then we'll go to the the sprint qualifying race, and then the sprint race, and just to keep it in order.
I got you. All right. Qualifying Friday night there. Um, yeah. My dad said winning the sprint race feels like winning like what would be like a consolation race or like a what we call like heat race in other sports. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's like a win, but it's not the main win. Yeah, me and Alex agree with you there. Qualifying one, Joe Guan Yu's 20th, Kevin Magnussen 19th, Lawson 18th, Stroll 17th, and then Sargent, who was sitting 15th but gets bumped down to 16th by his teammate on the last lap. I think the biggest news out of there, I don't know if you saw it, was Stroll pushing his trainer when he gets getting out of the car.
Yeah. He's having a rough. He had a rough weekend.
He's having a rough weekend. Alex is sending me hilarious memes about it. Um, Man, the F1 meme game is very strong, is it not? Like, there's some funny people out there. Uh,
It really is.
yeah, the Joe Guan Yu, K Mag, doesn't really. It's not a big shocker. Lawson, not a big shocker, but he's been putting that car into Q2, a handful of times, which is crazy that we kind of expect him, in that range already, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Just shows he's doing good. Sargent not binning it, 16th, not bad for him. Man, but Stroll down in 17th while his teammates in Q3 again. Dude, I don't know. What left is there to say? Like, there's... what?
There's nothing to say. It's just his dad. In all honesty, does Lance have like no pride whatsoever? Like,
No,
at what point do you just sit there and be like, "Yeah, I'm hindering my dad's money, and like I'm letting so many people down, like the engineers, the people, the pit crews, all this stuff. Like time and time again, you are letting these guys down, and you have no shame to acknowledge, like, okay, I got to step away. This isn't me. This isn't for me.
he's never gonna step away. It's one of the coolest jobs in the whole entire world. He's never gonna
Oh, of
step away.
course. I don't know, man. I think at one point you gotta be like humility, bro. You
But
really do.
what I
Like,
don't get is he's been better. Like in the past, he's like when they had the pink Mercedes, like they did okay, and he did okay. You know what I'm like? But this is just abysmal on another level. I don't get it.
I mean, he might not just be able to adjust to that driving style because again, this is the Red Bull from last year, and that driving style is catered towards Max. And Alonso's definitely a similar driver to Max in that aspect. He's a very
Mm.
aggressive, like nose in kind of guy. And Lance drove, like you said, the pink Mercedes, and the pink Mercedes was just like, oh, it didn't overtake the same way this Red Bull does. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's some different driving styles.
Well, that's a very good point because you're looking at like where Max is and then where Sergio is. Well, now Alonso's a little bit further down than Max, and if there's a gap to the second driver as well, that's actually a pretty good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. That maybe he's having trouble adapting to that car, but it's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's really bad over there. And obviously we're gonna talk about Perez a lot on this show today because he had a rough weekend. But it's like we talk about Perez like this, but really Lance should be talked about in the same. Maybe
Worse.
this was.
I think personally his is worse.
Yeah, I agree.
Being honest.
No, I 100% agree. We go into Q2. Hulkenberg 15th, Albon 14th, Perez 13th, Seitz 12th, Yuki Tsunoda 11th. Perez had a lap time deleted, which was just the start of his lap times all getting deleted. Carlos Sainz was a little bit of a shocker there. I think he had some laps. Sometimes when these guys go on a fast lap and then they have a mistake, they have to do another cool down lap, recharge the battery, and then go again. It kind of throws them off schedule. The tires are a little bit beat, and I think it just kind of put him on the back foot there. But man, I feel like that's where it all started for Perez. It was like, okay, that's how this weekend is gonna go.
I think even with his lap time deleted, I don't think he made it to Q2, if I remember right. Or he might have just made it, but I don't remember. I can't remember. I know it was close.
Yep. No, I think you're right. I think it was very close, and that happened to a few people too, where their lap times got deleted. But even so, it would have been borderline. But I mean, Perez and Seitz, I feel like are your big shockers there. Tsunoda 11th is not bad. And then Q3, we got Norris qualifies 10th, Bottas 9th, Ocon 8th, Gasly 7th, Piastri 6th. You get Leclerc 5. Alonso 4, Hamilton 3, Russell 2, and Verstappen 1. Norris and Piastri, both lap times deleted, as if you watched the post-qualifying, Lando kind of found out right away that he got his lap time deleted after qualifying second, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe he put a lap time of 2.
Yeah, it was second.
Yep. And then Piastri, they didn't let him know until he was doing his third place interview. And
that was humiliating.
That was awkward. They interviewed Russell. He thought he was third the whole time. I was a little bit, I was like, does he not know? And then at the end, there's the meme where he asks kind of, Piastri, what's up? And Piastri says something, and then he makes a face. I guess let's just jump into this here, though, too. Another track with freaking track limit issues, dude. What the heck? Tell me it's not awful to watch.
It sucks, and everybody wants to blame the drivers for not doing this, but these cars are very wide, and the track is very narrow at times, and it's hard, and especially like you said, there was only one practice session. Mm-hmm. You're thrust to the qualifying immediately, and there's a lot of dust everywhere, and they have to adjust to being in a desert because that's not a fun time.
I know Perez went on to saying after that his he felt like his seat is too low. I do believe it is kind of hard to see out of these cars, and with them being so wide, some of the arguments are, change the track, put some, gravel or grass close, make the drop off on the other side of the curbs bigger. You got to remember that these are tracks that are used for other things as well. So when they make a racetrack, like for MotoGP, you can't have like a drop off that might seem big. If it's big for a car drop off, for a motorcycle, they're gonna die. They're gonna go over that lip, and they're gonna just go. Gravel trap, same thing. Those guys need on the bikes. They need a little bit of runoff room. I don't know if you've ever seen them crash. It's pretty bad. So you can't just start. You can't just start. Making tracks honestly to Formula One specifications. You need them to be able to use for other things. That's how the facility makes its money. So, yeah, it's just tough. I've seen some videos of things in the past. They are, they're not just going to, I don't know. I've seen some videos in the past. You ever seen the W11 video from Spa with Hamilton? It's like a killer lap.
No, I don't remember.
It's a killer lap, but like track limits aren't a thing. Like he's going over 4 tires clear, and like, I don't know when in the past couple of years, because I've been watching it since then, when this has become like such a problem. I don't know when,
I think it had. I think it might have been with the new regulations. I think after I hate to bring it back, but after Abu Dhabi 21, I don't hate to bring it back at all. After the FIA, it felt like they dropped the ball in a lot of areas, so now they just want to make it look like they're actually following the rules that they have set.
Yeah, I just don't understand. I get if you give an inch, people will take a mile, and they'll probably find some loophole. But like track limits on the outside of a corner, I don't just let them all go out there, and no one's gaining an advantage. I think in the past I watched a race where like Verstappen overtook Raikkonen with his 4 tires off the track. Well, that's clear cut track limits, and he got a penalty. But I don't understand why we're so picky. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I think it's ruining the race.
I agree with you. It's especially with how little. I can't remember. I forget who it was exactly, but I remember they reached track limits, and it was minuscule. I could they put the camera view where you could see in the cockpit, right over I think the new one, the left hand one or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can't see from that angle that they went over. It literally looks like they're on the line or a little over to the right, but
yep,
you can see from the overhead camera they were a little over.
Yeah.
I can understand if it's intentional. If you're getting a clear advantage, by all means, yeah, call it. But if it's the rear end kicked out a little bit and that happened, I don't know. I let it go, I guess. But yeah, it's hard to say.
I feel like they have to stick to the rule once they start enforcing it. But like you said, I'm with you. I watched a couple of those camera views, and I can't tell from the onboard camera view that he's over. They have to go to their fancy, in what you're saying is they're not gaining a tenth. They're gaining thousandth, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, but yet they get their whole lap deleted, and then they're starting 10th when they're honestly probably, like Lando was the second fastest car, arguably.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just seems like nonsense. But that was qualifying. So your start of the race, Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, ended up being your top three. All right. Normally here we'd be talking about the race, but now we are moving on to Saturday. We will now be talking about the sprint shootout. It was pretty quiet. Session 1, Sargent 20th, Magnussen 19th, Tsunoda 18th, Albon 17th, and Stroll 16th. Sargent got a lap time deleted, and so did Tsunoda, which dropped them down there. And again, maybe Stroll had a bad Friday, turned it around Saturday. Nope, 16th fastest. So any shockers out of those bottom 5 for you?
I just Stroll. The car under him shouldn't be there where it is.
Stroll. Yep, I got you. Sprint shootout 2. Joe Guanyu, 15th. Lawson, 14th. Bottas, 13th. Hamilton, 12th. Gasly, 11th. Hamilton has a lap time deleted. I don't know that his lap would have been good enough either. There.
I don't think it was. I think that was another one,
Yeah. Joe qualifies 20th and then 15th there, so I guess that's a little bit of a come up. Gasly in 11th, right outside that shootout 3, so not bad. I mean Hamilton is the shocker in that group, right? Everything else is pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Yeah. And then S3, Esteban Ocon is 10th, Perez is 9th, Hulkenberg, who is Mr. Sprint Race, Mr. Shootout, 8th, Leclerc 7th, Sainz 6th, Alonso 5th, Russell 4th, Verstappen 3rd, Norris 2nd, and Piastri 1st. If you watched it, Verstappen put in his lap first. That was only 3rd best, so we knew it was either going to be Piastri or Norris. Piastri goes and gets a little bit faster. Norris, who looks like he was ahead, goes wide in the final turn. Ends up in 2nd. What did you think? I said, "Oh man, Norris is going to get him." And did you see?
I thought Norris had it. Yeah, I saw it. I thought Norris had him.
And they had the camera down, Yeah. So Piastri comes, he comes to the inside. I think maybe Alonso or someone was in the middle, and then you see Norris run wide, and you're like, no. Because I'm a big Norris fan.
I am too.
Yeah, I want to see him get his. That's another thing. Sorry, I'm gonna jump around a little bit here. We'll talk about it. Obviously, Piastri won the shootout, but someone else is like, well, Danny Rick came in and he won a race before Lando, and now Oscar has come in and won the sprint race, and I'm like, calm down. Like Lando is still.
Let's not pretend like Lando didn't give that win to Danny Rick. He could have very easily overtaken him. He just said let's play the team game during that race. So let's not forget that. And then on top of that, it's like Lando's definitely more. As of right now, I'm still rating Lando higher than Oscar. He's definitely one of the S tier drivers in the grid right now. I'd put him up there with or A tier. Sorry, I still think the 3 best drivers in the grid are Lewis, Max, and Alonso. After that, you have a bunch of guys in the A tier like George, Leclerc, Carlos, and Lando. And I think we're got to start putting maybe high B tier Oscar, but Oscar's gonna be pushing that A tier too pretty soon. Yeah. And I could throw Albon on that A tier too. I think Albon's getting there too.
Yeah, well, Albon's close. I'll agree. I thought the rest of that was pretty spot on. But that's just this sprint race. It just adds another thing where people are going to try to use this against other people in stats, and you're like, bro, calm down. Look at Lando in points. Look at how Lando's carried this team. Just because Oscar won one sprint race, and then Lando was asked to play the team game in the race, don't start putting Oscar above Lando. We're not doing that on this show. Hell no. For sure. All right. You ready to talk about the sprint race?
You mean the safety car race?
The safety car race. All right. So after Spa, I said that on such a short race, safety car laps shouldn't count. If you're having a 20-lap race, we can't have caution flag laps. Alex, did you agree with that after watching this race?
Yes.
Yep. I'm still for that. I will say that the soft tire runners would have had an absolute atrocious day if there wasn't safety car laps, because their tires fell off as it is. I will say one thing that makes that race cool, because I don't think it happened at Spa. I think everyone was on the same tire. Was when people ran 2 different compounds because they didn't know. If you watch the race, lights out, Russell starts third, ends up first in the first lap. No, excuse me. Russell starts fourth and
First
ends up
lap.
first. Um,
Yeah, they were
or
all
what?
fighting, and he just took it.
Yeah, I think it was early on. Verstappen goes down to like sixth place. Leclerc sights on soft tires; they jump up spots. So basically, if you were on a soft tire, fired up quick. If you were on a medium, you struggled with grip. Lawson wrecks on lap one, so a few safety car laps there. Yeah, I think Russell might have been behind for that lap one because Lawson wrecked so quick. I think it was after the first safety car, Russell passes Piastri. Um,
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
yep.
Because
Um,
wait, was it? Yeah,
yeah.
because that's right. Because yeah, for the second safety car, for the first safety car, he like had a great launch away from the line.
Yep.
Yeah, she did.
Yep. Few laps later, Sargent beaches it too. If you're new to Formula One, beach means if you get stuck in the gravel trap, the car cannot
You're
move.
stuck.
You need a crane to come get you out. It's gonna bring out a safety car because they need to put people on the track. But that point, still, it was like, okay, the soft tires look like they're gonna fall off, but are there enough safety car laps that like the soft tire may be able to survive this whole thing? Then it went green a handful more laps. Soft tires just started dying. Verstappen mows his way back up through the field. Um, Russell starts dropping back a little bit. Hamilton comes through the field. Perez is working his way through the field. Then he gets into a three-car accident with Hulkenberg and Ocon. Thoughts on the accident? Just racing incident? No big deal? What do you think?
I think it was definitely a racing incident. It was three cars wide going into the turn, if
Yep.
I'm right.
Yep.
And then they Perez had nowhere to go. Nobody really had anywhere to go there, and it just happened. Unfortunate. Lewis played that insanely smart. He
Mm-hmm.
played it back, and he ended up capitalizing all of that, and it made his race look phenomenal. Even though I don't know if he would have overtaken all three of those guys, he probably would have ended up behind Perez. But
Yep. Yeah,
yeah,
so that wreck happens. You know, here we're Lewis Hamilton fans, especially myself. I'm always on board. He goes, I forget what he was. He might have been 12th at that, or 11th.
no, I think
No, he was 11th.
I think he was just outside the points. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he was like 11th or 10th. Yeah.
So 11th, it takes him to 8th. And the reason why Hamilton is such a good watch there is because he was on a medium with soft runners in front of him. So with a handful of laps to go, we go back green. I know from my perspective, Hamilton gets passed by Gasly, overtakes Gasly, Alonso, Leclerc, and Sainz all in the last lap. He goes from 8th to 5th with 2 to go, which was absolutely crazy. Verstappen makes his way past Russell into second. Can't end up closing the gap the last couple laps. Lando passes Russell on the last lap to get third. I like the sprint race. I thought if you watched, especially Hamilton on sights, he passes them in the middle of the track, sets them up clear. Soft tires had absolutely nothing left. Hamilton sets them up beautifully. I liked the race. I thought there was good passing. Alex texted me he did not like the race.
I just thought it was safety car galore. I mean, that's like my argument. There's way too many safety cars.
Okay. Yeah.
That was my biggest thing. There's like too many laps under the safety car.
Yeah. I know you
And
mentioned
like you said, it hinders Oscar's win more because he was under safety car for most of the race.
Yep. And I know you mentioned about the DRS passing a little bit.
Oh yeah, there was definitely a lot more DRS passing. There was a few moves here and there. I think George's move on Oscar when he took first place for a little bit was a
Yep.
really nice move, and then Lewis had some nice moves going throughout. But most of them were just like Max's overtakes were just clear straight line speed. He was just booming past everybody. I think one of Lewis's overtakes or George, I forget what it was. It was one of the Mercedes. They clearly had the straight. I think it was Lewis. I think it was a pass on Gasly. He clearly just had straight line speed and just overtook him very easily.
Yeah. I just my thoughts on that, because you're not alone. I think the announcers thought that the DRS was maybe a little bit too powerful. Is that there's only one DRS zone, and it kind of looked like that was going to be the only passing zone. So like, I don't know if I'd rather have that or if you cut it down and then you start having like DRS trains because it's not long enough. But we'll never know. I just get worried with only one DRS zone on a track that like if it's not good enough, we're gonna be single file. So
yeah.
But yeah, Oscar gets the win. I mean, we've talked a lot about it. It's cool that he won the sprint race, but I mean, it's not the full race. So,
Yeah, and then Max officially wins the championship
yeah,
with
Max.
that.
Yeah,
I think.
I'm about to skip over that. Thank you, Alex. Max wins his
Yeah.
third championship. The minute Perez wrecks, because Perez needed to get third, and I think Max didn't. Max couldn't get any points. But the minute Sergio wrecks out, Max becomes a three-time champion. Uh, I mean, it was inevitable here. So he technically did it with 6 races to go, because he did it before
Yeah.
Sunday's race.
Yeah, and that's going to be forever in the record books, and it's just stupid.
If you see the thumbnail of this video, Max holds up his threes weird, in my opinion. Who holds up their threes like that?
Did he really?
How do you hold up your three? How do you hold up three?
I would go like that.
Yeah, right? Either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pointer to thumb. Or worst case scenario, you would go thumb to pinky. Okay, Carmelo, calm down. All right, jeez. Yeah, I don't even know who does 3 like that. But I mean,
I don't know. I mean,
Max
is a strange one for sure.
Yeah, Max gonna be Max. But yeah, you had 2 McLarens and 2 and a Red Bull on the podium, and it was kind of a good indicator of what Sunday might be. But man, let's get into this. I'm so excited.
Yeah. You want to go straight into lap 1 and just talk about that massive incident?
Yeah. So I want to real quick. Me and Alex talked about it earlier. Pirelli always takes the tires after qualifying, after everything, and analyzes them. And early on in the weekend, they were finding out that the sidewalls were basically coming apart. You couldn't see it to the naked eye, but you could tell when they did their analysis. And then, unfortunately, the sprint race wasn't long enough under green flag laps for them to really tell what's going on. But they were still worried enough that these tires were going to start falling apart. So before the race, they made a mandatory rule that you could not go more than 18 laps on a new set of tires. If you're wondering, that's how Germans show 3 as seen in Inglourious Bastards. Ooh, that could be true. Mick said that. Mick's a Verstappen fan. But that could, I don't remember. It's been forever since I watched Inglourious Bastards.
But
oh yeah, he's not German. That was, yeah. I feel like that was a good argument if he was that.
Yeah.
If he was German. Maybe he just likes Inglourious Bastards.
Or Netherlands. I don't know. I think he's Danish, right? Yeah,
I think Dutch.
I know.
It's
yeah,
Dutch,
that's
isn't
what
it Dutch?
I always get like the Netherlands, Dutch, and Danes confused. It's just whatever.
Yeah, because
American education.
We're American. We hate everyone else. Yeah. But the reason these tires are coming apart here, the curbs are not different than any other spot. There's just no other track that they are going so fast and on the curb so much, and that was what was tearing apart the tires. They only dropped below 4th gear one time in the whole entire lap at that track, which is pretty nuts. So the reason I bring this up is because it made the race interesting, but also to start the race, Verstappen 1, Russell 2, Hamilton 3. Hamilton didn't have the same tires that everyone else had, so he had to start the race on a soft tire, which we knew from the sprint race would not last long, but it would give him insane 1, 2, 3 lap speed in the beginning of the race. Lights out, away we go. Hamilton gets a great launch. So does Russell and Verstappen. They all get a pretty good launch. Hamilton pulls out. Russell looks like he's going to get past, but catches a slipstream. Hamilton sends it high into the outside of turn 1. Collects with George Russell. Beaches it out of the race. Russell continues on. Alex, who's at fault? What do you think? Talk to me.
Okay, I just want to reiterate. I think Lewis is at fault. I'm going to put that straight out there, honest. Lewis is at fault there.
Yep.
That being said, I think this is more on Mercedes than it is Lewis.
Okay.
Lewis, if he makes that move, has a very good chance of leading the race for a little bit.
Yep.
Because he was probably going to overtake Verstappen too with the tires he had. I think Mercedes tells George to back off. Because George didn't see him there, to be fair. But if Mercedes would have known, like, hey, like Lewis is going to get this right now, let him have it for a little bit. Now it's definitely Lewis's fault. There was nowhere for George to go. George didn't see him. But that really screwed the Mercedes because they looked really, really strong this weekend, especially when it came to race pace. Who knows? That they could have both finished in the podium because, at the end of the race, spoiler alert, George ends up making a little run back because he ended up going back into the pits at P20 or P9, or I'm sorry, P18, because I think
Yep.
Carlos didn't race, and Lewis is out of the race, and he ends up coming back and finishing fifth, I believe,
Fourth.
or fourth. Okay,
Yep.
so yeah, like that Mercedes had good race pace for the weekend. I don't think they would have overtaken Verstappen, but I think they could have definitely finished both cars on the podium.
Yep. Everything you just said is pretty accurate. With Hamilton admitted it was his fault. I'm the biggest Lewis Hamilton fan, and I think it was his fault. I think Lewis is struggling to see in these cars. I know that might sound silly, but Spa last year he turned in on Alonso, and straight after the race he's like, I thought I was clear. He was in my blind spot. I couldn't see. He just same incident with Piastri. Just kind of gave Piastri rear end of the car. Said it was in his blind spot and couldn't see. And man, this is on Lewis. Man, as much as I'm a big fan and I thought it was George's fault, because George was on the medium, I thought George maybe understeered into him with the tires not being so good. But it just wasn't. Hamilton turned into him. So, but I did see a lot of stuff. Nico Rosberg even said, he made some comments that same things. It's probably on Mercedes. Not that it was really on George, but maybe George should have known that like Lewis was gonna, Lewis probably could have gotten that pass done in turn one with the soft tires. There's a good chance, like you said, and Lewis was gonna have to pit probably like in the first 8 to 10 laps. Those tires wouldn't have lasted. Obviously, but George is a racer, obviously, so he saw a gap and he wanted, to go for it. But man, that just sucked. Dude, turn one, the two Mercedes, the McLarens are starting a little far back. You have only one Ferrari in the race. We'll discuss that in a second. Perez is outside the top 10. Oh man, it was a heartbreak. That was tough to watch. Lewis is gonna get fined because he crossed the track. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see that, no.
Yeah,
But
he
yeah, that makes sense. It's very
walked
dangerous.
across
Yeah.
the track. Yep. They have a slow mo clip of Russell passing, Hamilton walking behind him. I've already seen the memes that Netflix is going to use the crap out of that shot when they over dramatize their Drive to Survive. But yeah, tough.
And it
Tough
sucks. So
this
like,
morning.
my social media when it comes to F1 is very similar to yours, where it's
Mm-hmm.
just like very extremely biased, especially Lewis Hamilton bias. And I'm seeing all these fans just say how this is all George's fault or this or that. I'm like, dude, like if you're in that seat and you're driving that Mercedes versus Lewis Hamilton, like you're doing the same exact thing George did. George did nothing wrong. He literally
Yep.
didn't see Lewis. I'm sorry. It's 100% to me is Lewis's fault. But Mercedes should have communicated that right off the rip. Like, hey, I mean, Lewis is generally pretty phenomenal at his starts. I would say like 9 out of 10 times he's going to get a great start,
Yep.
and he's in the better compound tires for the initial push. I think Mercedes has to let George know immediately, like, hey, this is going to happen. Just let it happen. Play the long con. You're probably going to end up being in a higher position if you race well, like you did. You probably would have finished. I think Mercedes could have gone 2-3.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
And And then on top of that, now to jump out the race, just a question strategy here. Why did Red Bull put Perez in the hards? I know he started further back, but to me it makes no sense. You have to pit within 18 laps. You might as well, you have to get some overtakes in early. You might as well put him on the mediums to have him start overtaking early and then just do
He
what you want afterwards.
Well, everyone had to go onto the hard tire eventually. I'm right there with you. I just saw something he said post race was that the Lewis Hamilton safety car screwed him up. He said that because of that, by the time the tires got warmed up, it was time to pit. That's
That's
just
what
what
I'm
he
saying.
said.
But like, why?
But I think he was saying
I mean,
without the safety car, he might have would have grabbed some spots before his
mhm.
first pit stop. That's just
Okay.
what. But I'm with you.
I I think it's a dumb strategy call. I'm sorry. One, let's be honest. If anything's going to happen in a race, most of the time when it comes to safety cars, it's going to be in the early laps.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if you know you have to pit within 18 laps, like to me, it makes no sense. It
Yeah.
makes no sense to start them off on the hards.
And everyone else started pretty much on the mediums as well.
Hmm.
One more Lewis Hamilton stat before we move on. I think Nico said that's his.
That's insane.
That's
Sixth.
Lewis's sixth or seventh time crashing out in
Sixth.
17
Yeah.
years on the
Sixth.
first lap, which is a
That's
crazy
insane.
stat. That's a yeah. And a lot of times I watched the sprint shootout, and there's a few times I know he had mediums and they weren't grabbing, but I'm like, oh my God, why don't you throw that in there? And I'm always, me and my dad talked about this today. Me and him are hard on Lewis sometimes for not taking chances, and then he goes and throws it in on the outside, and he gets into a wreck. But yeah, that stat is crazy. He plays it safe, usually plays it smart, but it just didn't work out. All right, let's go through the leaderboard here. Max Verstappen, first in through the first corner, ends up first. He had the race pretty much
won after that.
Won. Oscar Piastri finishes second. He goes from 6th to 2nd in that first lap. When Russell and Hamilton take each other out, that's 3, 4. Alonso's 5. He has to slow down to avoid it. So Piastri's second there. Lando with a good drive in third, very patient through the pit stop strategies. I thought he drove good. I don't know what you thought of Lando's drive.
I think Lando had a good race. I know he was upset with the results and stuff, but he had a pretty okay weekend for the most part. If he didn't lose it during that qualifying session, he probably could have. Maybe he could have pushed a little bit harder. I don't know. I think Max is winning that race regardless. But yeah,
I think Max is winning that race. We'll talk about that later. What do you think about McLaren's team orders to stay in the spot?
I mean, like, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's
Go ahead, say it. You want to say it? Say it.
I don't. No, I mean, let them race. Let them race. The entertainment value is at an all-time low when it comes to F1, if I'm being completely honest. And I think they've lost numbers drastically when it comes to viewing numbers this year. It's like a crazy amount down. And the reality is, like, no one's racing for first place besides Max. And I think I said it when the Ferraris are going at it in that final race in, was it
Monza.
Japan? Monza. Yeah, when they were going at it in Monza, I thought that was the most exciting racing we've seen all season. Yeah. And that was for what? Third place, second place, or whatever it was. I forget what it was. But yeah, I think let the McLarens race. Let the McLarens race. You trust your drivers enough to know that they're not going to bank the cars. They're not going to crash into each other. And like Oscar seems to be a pretty level-headed individual. I know Lando can get a little mouthy at times, but he's pretty level-headed too. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, he wants what's best for McLaren.
Yeah, I agree. Especially too, they had Russell covered. In my opinion, they weren't, like you said, they weren't going to catch Max. They literally were just in a 2-person race for themselves. Like, in my opinion, you got to let them race. But that's just me. With their second and third, they've scored like more points than anyone since the summer break. They are on absolute fire right now. Coming in fourth, George Russell. Like we talked about, he got into it. Lewis Hamilton on lap 1. He comes into the pits with a left front puncture, so he's essentially 18th. Drives all the way back up to 4th. He made a lot of passes in turn 6. They started calling that the George Russell corner. He drove a really good race. Also, are you seeing the memes and some honestly X-rated memes about George Russell commenting on his own moves?
No, I have not seen those. Yeah, I have not seen that at all.
So when George Russell passed for the lead, honestly, in the sprint shootout race, he goes, "Big move, come on." He says that like on the radio about his own move, and then my Instagram has memes that are going, dude. My Instagram has memes that are going crazy. But George Russell, he's just gonna be George Russell. But a phenomenal.
If he was, in all honesty, if he wasn't like F1 famous or anything, and you met somebody with his personality in the streets, I would think he's a pretty weird dude.
Yeah, say it. You'd want to punch him in the face. Just say it.
Yeah, he's too in love with himself. He really is. It's creepy.
Yeah. You're not wrong. I guess I'll have to find some of these memes for you when we get off because I'm not showing them on stream. They're not good. But it's one of those what if races. What if doesn't get you very far in racing, but the fact that he started 18th to drive it up to 4th, yeah, he wasn't really catching those McLarens. But like we just don't know what would happen if he would have been ahead of them. Charles Leclerc just had a steady day in 5th, kind of a good battle with Fernando Alonso throughout the day. Fernando ended up going off track, coming back on kind of unsafely, but Fernando's not going to make a mistake, but when he does, you got to be there to capitalize usually. So solid day for Charles. Like we talked about, Carlos Sainz was not in the race to start. is a little bit confusing. A fuel leak that they couldn't get under control? Is that or
Yeah,
something with the fuel
sounds like a
system?
Ferrari thing to do. Yeah, sounds like a
Yeah.
Ferrari thing to do. I don't know what makes it confusing there.
So it's funny because my dad said something to me, and I go, "Yeah, he had like a fuel problem with the fuel system," and my dad's like, "They couldn't get it fixed." You know what I mean? Like what the hell?
Yeah.
But then you just
It,
saying it sounds like a Ferrari thing to do is like that's the appropriate response. Oh, I
did
love
you,
it.
what year was it? Was it 2019 where they got caught, or they didn't get caught, but they FI did their own secret investigation or whatever, and they
Yeah,
got caught cheating? Was something to do with fuel?
yeah, yeah. They were a little extra fuel to the motor or something, but yeah, those engines they couldn't use it anymore, and the documents were sealed, but they weren't cheating. Yeah.
Yeah.
So solid day for Charles. Fernando put in Aston Martin on his back like usually, he finishes sixth. Esteban Ocon finishes seventh. He had a solid day.
That is.
What's that?
I don't know how familiar you are with Greek mythology, but Fernando Alonso is like Atlas, just holding up the world by himself.
Yeah, I like it. You're a Greek mythology expert around here now. I like it. You just qualified yourself. Esteban Ocon finishes seventh. Valtteri Bottas with a great day finishes eighth. Joe Guan Yu, dude, started 19th because Sainz was out
I
technically
saw that. Yeah, he finished
to,
in the points.
to ninth. Sergio
Yeah.
Perez finishes 10th. 1 point. Dude had 15 seconds worth of track limit penalties. And that's just, I don't know. Christian Horner's, I think, actually getting frustrated in interviews. He's saying that, first thing is to win the drivers, or the constructors. You want to win the drivers. Now that's locked up. He's like, next thing we want is Sergio to finish second in points. And he's like, he's just not on form where he was in the beginning of season to now. Have we ever seen a drop off like this in a driver? He beat Max twice on pace. One time really straight up at Baku.
I mean,
And he
like,
cannot put it together.
no, he really can't, and it's definitely on him. But like, he's not in an easy situation when your team owner's constantly talking crap about you, when your teammate is never doing anything to help you whatsoever. Because God knows if the situation was reversed and Sergio's the one out there outperforming Max, Max is never going to do anything to help Sergio. He'll let people by just to ruin Sergio's race.
Yeah.
He's just in a tough spot. That Red Bull second seat is at this point just cursed, and I generally feel bad for anybody who's going to get in there next. And it's probably going to be Danny Rick, and Danny Rick is going to be the most hated man on the planet afterwards by all Red Bull fans because he's not going to be able to perform to what they want him to do. And I mean, he might perform a little bit better because I think his driving style is a little more similar to Max's and Sergio's is.
Yeah.
But it's just not a fun spot to be in, and especially like I said, I think a big thing is when your boss is constantly berating you and saying some of the stuff that Helmut Marko is saying. It's not a fun place to be in. It's an uncomfortable work environment, and at the end of the day, that's what this place is. It is a job.
Yeah.
Like, yes,
absolutely.
It's a dream job for most, but it's still a job.
Yeah.
And he's just not having it. He's having a rough season, but it sucks to me too because like in F1, it's so easy to just forget everything, and like it's such a recency bias sport, like every sport is nowadays. Let's be honest, but like it's like they all just forgot. Checo had a good year last year, and then the year before that, he was a big reason as to why Max won the championship, or was handed the championship, and it's just like. It's so frustrating to see how fast people and fan bases just turn on someone, especially with all the Checo's done for Red Bull.
Yeah. I agree. And they keep saying that, Sergio's going to be in that seat for next year. I almost feel like if he ends up losing second in this championship, I would be interested to see if they pull a move for next year and don't wait until 2025. Because I think that's something Red Bull would do.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
It's definitely something. I mean, they've said it time and time again. They said Gasly's going to be in the seat for the entire year. Switched him immediately. Yeah. Albon was going to have his spot for it. Switched him immediately. They got Checo in the seat, and then that's another thing. They never give time. They never give you guys a chance to even like get comfortable with the car. Like Gasly got shafted. Gasly had six? What was it, like 7 races, 8 races, or whatever it was? I don't know. But Gasly got shafted, and then Albon comes in there and he performs very well for the second half of the season for that Red Bull seat, and then he gets the next year And Albon could have arguably won a race if it wasn't for Lewis Hamilton.
Oh
And
yeah.
was it this first race of the season? Yeah,
Brazil. No, no, no. It was Brazil or
no,
Austria. I think it was Austria.
something like that. But Albon could have had a race win, and
Hmm.
Albon Lewis spun him out. But and then they just switched off immediately to Checo, and Checo was definitely, Checo's a good driver for that RB for that Red Bull second seat at the time, and I still think he is. I still think he's going to fit that position better than anyone because everybody wants a competitive driver, but the reality is, if you get a competitive driver in that second seat, that Red Bull team isn't going to work so well because like Max is not going to want to lose to anyone, and he's just a very aggressive driver. And it's like you saw it this year when Checo started to win races early on. He doesn't care for the guy as soon as he starts, losing points in the driver championship to him. So you get a guy like Lando in that second seat who can compete with Max. Who's to say what that's gonna? The team's gonna be Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton all over again. Except I
Yeah.
think Max is gonna cause a lot more crashes because
Yeah.
Max does not care.
And there's already rumors that Lando has. I think Alex Albon said that Lando has invite to Red Bull already.
Mm.
I don't know if it's true or not, but yeah. Sergio Perez though, tough weekend. He could not keep it inside the track. Finishes 10th. Lance Stroll works his way up to 11th. Pierre Gasly 12th with a penalty. Albon 13th. K-Mag 14th. Yuki 15th. Nico 16th. Lawson finishes 17th. And then 18th, Sargent 19th, Hamilton, Carlos Sainz 20. One of the big talking points after the race is everyone was dying. Um, they
Yeah,
all they all train all year for Singapore. They say Singapore is the hottest and toughest race of the year. Um, for Sargent goes out, and I'll be honest with you, on the couch, I said to Brooke, I'm like, this dude is fighting for his job. Like, he needs to not come out of the race because he doesn't feel well. Like, that's not a good look. Um, and then Fernando asked for water dumped on his back after the race. Alex Albon struggled to get out of his car. He needed help. Nico Hulkenberg, K Mag, they all needed assistance. Piastri's lying down in the cool down room. Esteban Ocon throws up in his helmet on lap 15. Max is sitting on the ground in the cool down room.
gross. That
It
is
ends
so
up being the
gross.
toughest race of the year. I was on board with Russell after Hamilton crashed. And yeah, those guys visor up. Russell would take his hands from the steering wheel, place them on top, and then try to lift up his hands to get like just air on himself in his visor. It was crazy hot. The heat
Around,
motor behind.
yeah.
They're almost saying it was too
I think
dangerous.
I mean, a lot of guys did. One of them got hospitalized, right, or went to a hospital. I
Yeah,
know
I think
Lance
like
Stroll walked over to the ambulance, and he
yo,
like
yep.
it looks like he was like it looks like he was about to pass out right there.
Yeah, because
Like
the dude's
it
about to
was like
open the door, right? And then did
mhm.
you see that? And then he kind of
Yeah,
like, yeah, like you said,
yeah.
like almost,
He looks like he stumbled over. He didn't walk over.
yeah,
Yeah, it was a very 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 dangerous race.
yeah, and it's funny, like these dudes, they're all skinny. Like, and if you hear Hamilton talk, he's like every pound matters in this seat. They're all skinny, but they're all
Hmm.
fit. They all train extremely hard, and not one of them, like I think Ocon was like, I usually can go 2 full races. He was like, but it's the dehydration of that race is what got them. So,
I
um,
think I remember reading a comment somebody saying that like it's a tough time to go to Qatar during that time of the season, and that maybe they can try to do a schedule change and move
yep.
it to either like November or like a March time, so like it's a little cooler and a little bit easier for the people, the racers to adjust to the temperature.
Mm.
But yeah,
But like I said, I think like Qatar, Baku, Abu Dhabi are all close. Like you could go in
yeah, they
you
are.
know, you could go in 5 weeks before Abu Dhabi, you know. But
Hmm.
whatever, their schedule doesn't make sense. A couple other things to highlight from the race: the 18 lap stints, because no, like as we talked about, no one could go more than 18 lap. I don't know if you heard this too, Alex, but they said that was hard because they felt like they were on full push qualifying laps because they didn't need to save their tires because they knew they were coming in. Leclerc said that's kind of what messed with some of them too. Um, and then myself personally, I still got to give credit to Red Bull. They With these 18 lap stints, McLaren has showed a lot of speed in qualifying. Red Bull has a car on the race pace on the race day, and so only allowing 18 lap stints didn't really show how good the Red Bull is at saving its tires and making runs long. So they were excited.
Yeah.
They were only 4.8 seconds behind, but I don't really think that shows the true.
Not at all. It easily would have been a 10 plus second gap had like the tires not been in that regulation not been enforced.
Yeah, so that's part of the things why I know I said I was gonna come out like an Oscar hater. I'm not. I just don't like the sprint race win and how much we're hyping it up. And then I think I'm gonna sound like a McLaren hater, but I think they need to calm down. They're not. They're still not that close to Red Bull in my opinion. They've been there with one lap speed, no doubt, but race day, I know they were kind of excited that he wasn't so far up the road, but I think he would have been if had the race
They got
been
the fast.
normal.
They got the fastest
Oh,
pit stop.
talk about it, Alex. Let them know. You know how fast it was?
1.8 seconds. It was
Yeah.
1.8, and then I think Red Bulls was, for the record for the season, was 1.82.
Yeah. Well, the
So
1.8 is a world record. That's the fastest.
Oh,
ever.
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So McLaren has a 1.8 pit stop, which is, I don't know if you guys ever seen these pit stops in slow mo, but they look fast in slow mo.
Insane. Yeah,
That's how.
insane.
Dude, 1.8 seconds is absolutely disgusting if you're watching from home. I don't know what else to compare it to, but it's just crazy. So, but man, that was the race. I thought it was a great weekend. Alex thinks it's mid, but listen, that's fine. Racing was done. Let's take a look at the drivers' points after we leave here. Max Verstappen in first with 433. Sergio in second with 224. Hamilton in third with 194. So we got a 30-point gap there. Fernando in fourth with 183, Carlos in fifth with 153, Charles in sixth with 145, Lando in seventh with 136. I think that's inevitable that Lando will get Charles, and then he is only that's only 17 points behind Carlos. I think Lando ends up at least P5 in this championship. What do you think?
Yeah, probably P5. He's probably we'll see. I mean, the Ferrari is track to track, it seems like, but I can definitely see him finishing P5. That's definitely the highest he's going to reach is P5, too. I don't think he's passing Alonso.
Yeah, Alonso would be, what is that? That's a 47 point gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one would be kind of tough, but stay hungry, Lando. You're crushing it. George is obviously sitting there in eighth with 132. I mean, if George could put some good finishes together, he might be able to mess with the Ferraris, but I think Lando's just going to keep scoring points on them. I think
P2 is going to be kind of fun to watch.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, that would have been much closer, too, if Lewis didn't, it's a what if, but if Lewis didn't wreck this week, that would have been crazy. Oscar's kind of in no man's land in ninth with 83 points. Stroll's in 10th with 47. Pierre Gasly's in 11th with 46, and Esteban's in 12th with 44. So I think 10 through 12 is very interchangeable, and I think you will see Gasly and Ocon overtake Stroll in his current form by the end of the year. That's my opinion. Albon in 13th with 23. Yep. Valtteri in 14th with 10. Nico Hulkenberg 9. That's kind of tight. Joe Guan Yu 8. Joe Guan Yu 6 points in 16th. Yuki Tsunoda 3 points in 17th. K-Mag 3 in 18th. Liam Lawson 2 points in 19th. And then Logan Sargent living on an island with a big goose egg there. And then as we go over to constructors here, Red Bull obviously 657 out in front. Mercedes 326. Ferrari 298. Mercedes stretched their lead over Ferrari there. Aston Martin with 230, McLaren in fifth with 219. So McLaren's going to overtake Aston Martin, that's no doubt. But I think I think it's too much of a gap for them to get to third to Ferrari. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say it's too much of a gap unless Ferrari gets a double DNF.
Yeah.
For like 2 races. And McLaren go P2, P3.
Yeah, it's 219 to 298. So what is that? That's 79 points they are behind. Yeah, 79.
No, is it 70 would be no, because 70 would be 99, so they're 69. Yeah, 70 would be 99. So they're 69 points behind. So they need
No. Time out. 70 would put them at 289. 80 would.
You're right.
80
you're right.
Yeah.
Wait,
you're right.
You're right. Jesus.
That's all right. So they're 79 points behind. I think that's too much. Even with a second and third this week, that gave them 18, 28, 33 points. and that would be if if they finish second and third next week, Ferrari would have to double DNF, and I don't know.
Double DNF like 3 times, I think.
Yeah, I think that hill's a little bit too much to climb, but I will. I heard Alonso in an interview. He's like, they're going to pass us in fourth, and we'll just have to accept that. And I think that's kind of true. But that's
insane that McLaren made that much inroads. Like that's such a comeback.
Yeah, but it's exciting. We should have a little tight battle for second and third, and then a good battle for fourth. Alpine's in sixth with 90 and no man's land. And then it gets a little tight. Williams in seventh with 23 points. Alfa Romeo with some points this weekend. They moved up to eighth with 16. They jumped for Haas and ninth with 12, and then AlphaTauri with 5 points.
I'm so happy for Mercedes. I'm sorry for Williams.
Yeah, no, me too. I'm with you.
They've been P10 for year after year after year, cracking the top 7.
And let's be honest, I don't know if they would have got much more points because Albon, his points are usually 8th, 9th, and 10th. But if they had a better driver in that car, in Sargent's seat, they might be able to get some more points. All right, we'll transition to our pick results. They are up on the screen. I'm gonna wait a second for Alex to let me know that he sees them. We always take a half a second here to get Alex ready. I'm up in the chat right now.
I got it.
Okay. So it was a very uneventful day for us. We both scored 8 points. We actually did pretty good with our top 5, just not in the right order at all. Top 5 was Max, Oscar, Lando, George, and Charles. Alex had Max, so he gets 5 points for that. He had Charles, Sergio, Lando, and Oscar. So Charles, Lando, and Oscar all in the top 5, but not in the right order. And then myself as well, Max in the right spot. I had Lando, Charles, Oscar, and Carlos. Carlos being the only driver not in the top 5. So we both walk away with 8 points. Keeping Alex's lead the same. He's up to 109, and I have 93. So I'm down 16 points with 5 races to go now. So it's doable. Okay, are you ready for our graphic designer? Because he's the only one that gave us picks.
Yep.
He picked Max, Lando, Carlos, Oscar, and Lewis. So he did just a little worse than us. He would have gotten 5 for Max, 1 for Lando is 6, 1 for Oscar is 7. So not bad for him. He would have gotten, Ryan, if you're listening to this, you would have gotten 7 points. That's pretty good. Pretty good. But yeah, our battle continues. Yeah, so we're going to be back next Monday at 5:30. We will discuss the Austin Grand Coda. What is it? Is it the Texas? I think it's the United States Grand Prix is what it's actually listed as. We will discuss that. We then will that leads us into a triple header weekend. Texas, Mexico, and Brazil. So that we will discuss Texas. The following week we will then recap Texas, preview Mexico. The following week we will then recap Mexico, preview Brazil, and then the following week. So we have a busy couple weeks coming up. Man, I gotta go to the bathroom so bad right now. I'm dying over here for like the last 45 minutes. Just gonna be real, but I'm not stopping the show. But yes, so we're gonna be back next Monday, 5:30. Real quick, fantasy. I faced our graphic designer this week, and I beat him by a point. Shouts out. What's up, Ryan?
Did you really?
Yep.
That's great.
And I have one guy to play, a running back, but I sat him because someone taught me if he has no people left, you don't want to get minus points. So shouts out you, Alex. So yeah, I catch the dub. Man, I don't got much more to say, Alex. What do you got? Anything?
I just want to let it be known that Jamar Chase was never ever on the trading block, and I need everyone in our fantasy draft to stop trying to freaking offer me these awful trades for him. He just dropped a 50 bomb, and he ain't going nowhere. All right.
And Alex got Cooper Cup back. I did
So,
see you got $170 in our league, right?
173, 74, something like that.
Yo,
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I'm going to make a playoff run. I'm not going to lie to you. I think I'm a little too far back, and my running backs are absolute doo-doo. But Jamar Chase is not tradable, and neither is Cooper Cup. All right, Justin Fields, we can talk.
Shouts out to both of those. Shouts out to both of those guys popping off after I played Alex in fantasy. Thank God. All right, listen, I'm gonna die here. We're gonna be back 5:30. If I have to piss again during the stream, I'm just gonna leave you guys with Alex next week. But listen, we will see you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe. Thank you for watching, Alex. I'll see you next week, brother. Take care.